Thank you, Roland, for the powerful lead, and so proud to be part of the Roland Martin Unfiltered Network. Keep doing your thing for the people. We are proud to follow you with Truth Talks, the show that shines a light in dark places and brings the barbecue to the public. Let's go.
Are y'all ready to roll? Let's go.
Welcome in, Truth Tellers. This is Truth Talk Season 2. We were hot to death on Fox Soul last season, but we've moved to a new platform, Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network, so we could be bigger, blacker, and more unapologetic than ever. We have our Dr. Viral star from last year still with us, holding it down, the core of the team, the superstar, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. How are you?
Thank you, Toure. What's up, Truth Tellers? You heard my brother Toure. We were the #1 show on Fox Soul first season, and we are definitely about to proceed that this season. Got some hot stuff for y'all today. Can't wait for you guys to meet our new co-hosts and for y'all to hear our different perspectives on these really great trending topics.
Speaking about new co-host, Dr. Sarah Fontenot was part of the show last season. Now she's an even bigger part of the show this season. Welcome to the team, Sarah.
What's up? I am so happy to be here. This is for my people back home that want to take accountability. We are not playing victim to anything. We are taking our power because truth talks. Let's get it, y'all.
And we have from the Loverboy podcast, I'm sorry, I messed up the name of your show. What is the name of your show, brother?
Lost Loverboy.
The Lost Loverboy podcast. I forgot because you're here. You're not lost.
I'm not
lost. Demetri Wiley, the Lost Loverboy podcast, holding down the millennials and the old Zoomers. What's up?
Hey, listen, I'm only here because my grandma told me to be, so I appreciate y'all.
Sarah, you were part of the show last season. I was not. Can you give me a little clue on what we're trying to do this season?
Yes, of course. So it's just amplifying Black voices. I personally am coming from a more conservative voice. So I know y'all about to be all up in my comments, but that's okay. I'm here for it because like I said, truth talks. And no matter what you hear, there's going to be something that you hear back in your home or in your car, wherever you may be, that you relate to.
Yeah, for sure. We're 4 different people, 4 different perspectives, different generations, different political ideals. So it's going to be an argument, but we love each other. But we want to hear from you in the comments what you want us to talk about, where we're going with it. Let's get into it. Trending truths. That's how we're going to start. Story number 1. Oh, boy, y'all. The Diddy trial, the trial of the century. This is wild. And Kid Cudi was on the stand this week. He called Diddy a Marvel supervillain and described how Diddy broke into his house after Cassie told him where he lived. And Cudi is dropping Cassie off at the hotel, making sure that she's safe. And Diddy is like, I'm in your house. So he calls Diddy and he's like, are you in my house? And Diddy's like, yes, I am here waiting. Can you imagine? Like, you're not at home and Diddy is in your house waiting for you.
That's wild.
And then he allegedly blew up his Cudi's Porsche right after threatening to do it. So this was some of the wildest testimony that we've had thus far. Demetri, how do you feel about this whole situation, the Kid Cudi conversation about what Diddy was doing to him, how he's trying to control him? This is Cudi leaving the courthouse after testifying.
You know, for me, honestly, it's really giving Mojo Jojo or like Dr. Duke from Smurfs. It's really giving evil villain, like good evil villain, though. And it's funny to me because I think it alludes to how powerful these people are. But just like you see in modern movies, modern cartoons and everything, the villain always gives themselves away. Before you blow up your car, you say, I will blow up your car. Like you always giving yourself away. For me, it's actually crazy how much power this man possesses and how it can be manipulated in people's lives. And it's actually kind of scary.
Dr. B, you know, part of what happened here is that I feel like Cassie looked to Cudi to try to save her. And he's literally trying to save her this evening, right? And he ends up wanting to confront Diddy physically because he's trying to save Cassie. complicated situation when the brother is like, I'm trying to save the sister, and now I'm like in this battle with this maniac.
Yeah, that's what happens. You know, they said allegedly she left and was in some hotel room and called Cudi and said, "Hey, come get me." And he did show up and he did come and get her. And so, you know, he was trying to do his dating or boyfriend role of trying to save her. But at the end of the day, the saving has to come from Cassie, right? She has to want again to figure out how to save herself, figure out how to get out of this situation. Because as you see, anyone she comes in contact with, whoever's in proximity with her, ends up being a direct, effect or a direct risk and a threat from Diddy. And so it's almost like anyone involved in the situation, as we see in the court proceedings, are all a part of his power and his control.
Yeah, Sarah, this is what Cassie talked about, that after this whole situation with Cudi, she went back to Diddy because in her mind, her calculus was, if I stay with him, then both of us will get hurt. But if I go back to him, then neither me nor Cudi will get hurt. Like, this is the way that she's thinking in the midst of this traumatized situation. Go, Sarah.
Yeah, you know, I pity the mindset that is stuck inside of a victim, that is stuck inside of low self-worthing and to an extent a level of self-hate, right? It's crazy because two things happened when he was in Diddy's house. Did you guys know that allegedly Diddy had put the dog in the bathroom? You locked the dog up in the bathroom while you were sitting in this man's house. And I just feel like that's such a depiction of how he is. He is such a power and control freak. It's the same thing that he's done to Cassie. He put her in the bathroom. He put her in a freak offs. He put her wherever he wanted to move her. That's what he does. And he gets away with it. But with good reason, when you think about how this man literally blew up Cudi's car without, when he said, what are we going to do about my car? When he was testifying, and Diddy said, what do you mean? So it's crazy how he continues to get away with all of the things that he gets away with. But, it's hard for me to relate to someone that is a victim mindset. It's a really big challenge for me because I've been through that. Moved to a whole country by myself at 20 years old.
No, I know, but that you survived it with all the resources you have, family, church, all the things that set you up to survive that situation. And thank God you did. And I'm uncomfortable using your success in that moment, in your moment of trauma and challenge, to judge what she should have done in her moment of challenge and trauma when she was. And I would think that your experience would lead you to be understanding of how difficult it is for her rather than judge her. I feel like you're judging her.
Well, I'm observing her, right? It's not a judgment as much as for me, it feels like an observation. My observation is 11 years is a really long time to be getting abused. And it really just gets worse and worse over time. And so when that time is focused on, you've already established that you have a predator and you have the prey, and she's going to keep showing up and she just wants to be loved so bad. It's like 11 years is a long time. When it happened, whether it was year 1, year 3, year 5, year 7, or year 10, you should know it's time to go at some point.
Demetri, this man, Diddy, he screamed at me on at least 2 occasions. And the power differential, I wasn't working for him, but I'm in the music industry general sphere as a journalist, as a reporter. So, it was very difficult, right? And you understand the massive power imbalance between you and this other person. And he was threatening to me, right? And I'm like, I don't think you can actually hurt me because you're not going to call my publication and get me fired. But it was definitely like a traumatizing situation that you understand. You see like power, like showing itself to you. And it's difficult. And Cudi is dealing with that as well. Of like Diddy showing like power on him.
Absolutely. And I think this is not about Cassie to any degree. Like, this exact conversation is not about Cassie. And the reason I say that is regardless of how you frame that or look at that, look how powerful this man is. You break in my goddamn house. First off, how you get in my house? Like, if I lock my keys out my house, I can't even get in my own house.
Demetri, Cudi got a house that's way bigger than
Hey, listen, you never know.
There's plenty of entry points.
Hey, listen, but all I'm saying is the thing about it is for a man to enter your domain and don't think you're gonna shoot his ass, call the police.
Come on.
Pretty
We did call the police.
He
How did he
actually
call the
believes
cops?
he's pretty fucking untouchable. And the audacity, that's one. But two, right? Look at Kid Cudi keeping silent for so long. He's scared. And regardless if he, like you said, he's yelled at you and you've seen it personally. There's people living everyday lives who are afraid to talk back to their employer, who are afraid to stand up to themselves in front of who they actually work for. This man just got motherfuckers in fear. He don't even work for them.
Let's move on to another really important story that is really difficult to deal with. It's really weighing heavily on my heart, something that I want like every Black person to know about, because we got to talk about stories like this so it doesn't die. Kadir and Nasir Lewis are two 19-year-old twins who back in early March were found dead at the top of this mountain in North Georgia, in an area that those of us who have spent time in Atlanta, like me, I went to Emory, we know the area where they were found is Klan-ish area, Klan area. So like, you know, watch yourself, right? The Georgia Bureau of Investigation came in and said, oh, it's a double suicide. Case closed. Let's move on. This man, Scott Curlin, this white man, found the bodies, took photographs of them, and tweeted those photographs. So he was arrested for that. The family is like, let's look at him. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation is like, we're done. We are moving on. The family is like, no, there's no way they killed themselves. They were very happy. They were not depressed. They had plans in the future. So, but there is internet searches from them saying, how do you kill yourself? How do you load a gun? So there's a lot on both sides, Dr. B, and I'm not really sure what's going on here.
Well, let me say this. I stand with the family. I think the family should continue to press until they figure out exactly what happened to their boys. You know, it was said that they used one gun to take 2 lives, which means one brother had to kill the other brother, watch him die and suffer, and then in return kill himself, all in one scenario. Not saying that that's not possible, but saying that that doesn't sound believable with the evidence that we have. The other thing is suicide is at an all-time high within the Black male community. And so this ties right into the statistics, right? The evidence isn't matching up though. These boys went to an airport. They never boarded their flight. They went camping, 100 miles somewhere else that they never camped to. So all of it is just, I feel like there's so many moving parts that for the family just to fall back and say, hey, yeah, this was a suicide is not something that I think they should do. I think they should continue to push. They should get organizations that are going to help them. And I think this white guy, Scott or whatever, he doesn't even deserve for us to say his name, to get the recognition, okay? Who tweeted these babies pictures of their dead bodies should be under felony charges and doing jail time for a very, very, very long time. And I'll end with this. When you tweet something like that out, that is called secondary trauma. Okay. Every single person who was looking at that, regardless of their race or their creed, whether they have kids or not, are traumatized to the second degree. This man needs to be charged for those charges as well. I think it's a sad story. It breaks my heart. And I really, truly hope that they find justice.
Demetri.
You know, that's a funny word you used there, Dr. Bryant. Justice, right? The thing about Black people, Black culture, us, me being an African-American man, I'm very aware of this. If a Black death is mysterious,
come on.
If it's mysterious, it's often ignored. If a Black death is obvious, it's still denied. There is no justice for Black death. We don't get justice. We get explanations. And that's my problem. When something happens with white death or in white culture, whatever the case is, when it happens there, they go Sherlock Holmes. We got to stick with Chief Wiggums from the fucking Simpsons. Like, how the fuck, how are you better the moment the culture shifts? I don't understand it personally. Honestly, being a black man, it's terrifying out here knowing I got a black son that I have to protect one day. You look at the statistics, like y'all said, and the facts of everything. This is KKK territory they were found in. Like, let's be honest here. I'm just lost for words.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Demetri, because it feels like we don't matter yet again. Because the problem for me is this white man, Scott, is a firefighter. So you mean to tell me this is a person that's supposed to save lives? This is a person, authority figure, and he's defiling bodies like this on the internet for everyone to see? The fact that that is even in alignment with someone that's supposed to save people is absolutely absurdity. And you know, we've talked about the suicide rate and how it's been spiking over 50% from 2013 to 2019. Why? Because there's again this pushed out rhetoric and agenda that says, and these actions that show we don't matter. Like you said, Demetri, we don't get justice. We get explanations. They're ready to close this down like this. Why? Because it's easier to give an explanation to the family. But I do have to say this because there's some weird stuff happening in this case. Why did the boys Google how to commit suicide? Why did one of the boys order ammunition 3 days prior to the suicide? And at first they thought it was a suicide murder or murder-suicide. And then they said it was a suicide-suicide. So you mean to tell me, but the gun had their prints, each had their prints on one gun. So you mean to tell me that one brother shot himself, the other brother went and got the gun to then shoot himself?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
No.
But then also, why are you ordering ammunition? Why are you Googling suicide? Why is this white man finding you in the middle of the woods before we even knew that you guys were gone? None of stuff makes sense to me.
Those are all great questions. I have all those questions. There's so much sort of mystery and cloak in here. It's very opaque. I don't really believe that there was a suicide here, and it ties into what Demetri was talking about as far as the fear of being a black man in this country. I am way more afraid of the police and whatever, you know, Proud Boys, KKK, all the white supremacist organizations that still exist, and many of those people are in the police force. We have a whole segment on that. I'm more afraid of them than any criminal in this country, right? Like I feel like I am far more likely to get shot or hurt from a cop or a white civilian rather than somebody who I'm supposed to think is a black criminal, right? Like that is my real fear, right? And to sort of have my life ended or have my children's lives end out of something like this, right? Like a weirdo white people trying to come in and like take us out sort of situation, because I'm not buying the suicide thing at all. We're gonna have to keep an eye on this case because this is a lot of questions, important, young. I mean, these are two young people. These are two lives, just the beginning of their time. We have to support the family by continuing to talk about this story and not letting it die. Hopefully at some point we can get some sort of closure. Demetri, you have one more thought on this?
I think I've dealt with suicide. I've dealt with mental health issues. I've been there. I understand as a black man the weight of everything going on and how terrible it can be and how much you have to live in fear with the pressure of the world already. I'm gonna tell you something. I attempted to take my own life and I'm still here. So thank God. But if I was gonna take my life, I didn't travel to the woods. I did it in the comfort of my own home. And all I'm saying is you have to be able to go move into the minds of someone who's actually dealing with a mental illness. You ain't got to travel to the fucking woods to do so. You do it right where you stand if that's how it is. But, you know, it's a heavy case. Let's please keep an eye on it.
It's powerful that you acknowledge that you've had suicidal ideation in your life. I have had suicidal ideation moments in my life, and the place was a huge challenge because I'm like, I feel comfortable at home. I can get access to the things at home. I can do, but my God, I could never have my children and my wife walk in and he's there and then they have to, so I would have to leave the house. And then once it's like, you have to leave the house to do it. Well, then, you know, then it becomes very, very complicated. I don't think this case is about suicide at all. So let's keep an eye on this story as the months and years go on, because this is an important one that we have to keep an eye on this, at least for the families, to support them in that way.
Yeah, wait, right. And hold on, Toure and Demetri. Thank both of you as Black men for being vulnerable enough to share that with us, because that is huge and someone's going to hear that. And I hope that they are very inspired by your boldness and your courageousness to share theirs. So I got to say thank you, because brothers don't speak up on it enough. I'm in this field for 17, 18 years. I love you, brothers. I'm happy you did not go through with it. I'm happy that ideation did not turn into an actualization. And I'm so grateful that y'all share that with me. So seriously, I love y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, you know, keep in mind, I'm sure you've seen this in your work, Dr. Bryant, that the suicidal intent is not like that person is suicidal and they'll just try and try and try. No, you have depression, and then you have moments of spike where you're like, I can't deal with it anymore. But if you can find a way to get through that day, then it goes down, and then you're back at your baseline of depression. And like, maybe you can if you can hang on, then you can get to a safer place emotionally and keep. But please talk to a professional like Dr. Bryant. If you're like, hey, don't just rely on your friends, don't just rely on the internet. Like, go talk to a professional who is trained to help you in those situations. There's hotlines, there's therapy professionals like Dr. Bryant and others that you can find. Like you could talk to somebody 5 minutes from now. So like, there's no excuse, right? And there's no more stigma. So let's involve the professionals.
Yeah. And then Toure, just want to let everybody know, call 988, which is a suicide hotline for those who may not be able to get into session quick enough, who you don't want to call 911, you'll be on hold forever. Call 988, which is a suicide hotline, and that is nationwide. So no matter where you at, you can call that and get some help.
So I know someone who probably wanted to call 911 recently. Let's move into the politicking part of the show. The president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, surely wanted to call 911 after his crazy, wild meeting in the White House with Trump. Look, message to world leaders: if you go to the Oval Office, it's a trap. He's going to screw you over. You don't want to be there. Trump calls his brother to the White House and then educates him on South Africa. Trump is lecturing the president of South Africa about the white genocide that is not happening currently in South Africa, showing pictures. Let's show the video.
When it's there's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of death. It's a bloodbath.
It is. Unfortunately.
I get the satellite pictures of that field, of that killing field. You never saw anything like it in your life. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing that goes on. But
there is not a white genocide happening in South Africa, period, full stop. But Trump wants to have a conversation about something that's not happening. Demetri, go.
The real land grab here was fucking colonialism. Like, let's be honest. So don't fucking cry for sympathy for white farmers. And you saying it's the worst you've ever seen. What the fuck does the history book show? Because when I was a kid in school, what I had to go through in the videos I watched, I guarantee you it was not 40. It was 40 million around this month. And it's, to me, it's a bit of insane because I know exactly who this is I'm watching. The thing about Trump, right? I'm watching a businessman. He did not fly that man for South Africa for sympathy. This was strategic. This was business. This was for sympathy. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm disgusted.
Let's I want to play you one of my favorite comedians of all time, a little bit from George Carlin, this brilliant intellectual comedian who talked a lot about politics, and he had an amazing way of encapsulating basically America's colonialist history.
On a very basic double standard, this country was founded by slave owners who wanted to be free. Am I right? A group of slave owners who wanted to be free. So they killed a lot of white English people in order to continue owning their black African people so they could wipe out the rest of the red Indian people and move west and steal the rest of the land from the brown Mexican people, giving them a place to take off and drop their nuclear weapons on the yellow Japanese people. You know what the motto of this country ought to be? You give us a color, we'll wipe it out.
Sarah, you know, one of the parts of this story that makes me go, now I understand what's really going on. South Africa is leading a charge in international diplomacy and courts against Israel and against their genocide of Palestine. That's why, part of why Trump wants to have the South African president in to try to rap him on the knuckles.
Yeah, I agree. And you guys know I like looking at the facts before I try to draw any conclusion. And this is what we know. We know that it has been reported that there were 19,696 murders in South Africa in 2024. 36 of them occurred on farms and only 7 farmers were victims. This man is talking about 40 something grave sites. Sir, even if we look at COVID in America, they were throwing bodies into crates that we made in the ground. What are you saying? This is the worst thing you've ever seen in your life? I just so strongly feel like people that have privilege never want to admit that they do, because now they're freaking the slide of the hand. But this is really and truly blatant racism. This goes back to the story that we don't matter. Why is he so focused on white farmers? Why is it not just farmers? Why is the focus on the fact that these white farmers are dying and this is what's happening? And you know, I'm sick and tired.
Well, here's the thing, Sarah, and here's the thing, that to try to deal with that question, I think South Africa is a really important vision for MAGA, right? Because they're very afraid that we are moving toward a majority country, right? In about 30 years, most adults in this country will be non-white, right? People on the right and MAGA folks are very afraid about this. And South Africa is a vision to them, a nightmare vision to them, of a country where white people were in charge and now they're not. And they're like, what if we become like South Africa? So this becomes part of why South Africa becomes this obsession for the right. Dr. B, what do you think?
First of all, this is about money. Second of all, Trump called that president in there to bully him. He knows they have a high crime rate. This is not about race. This is about money. He knows that they have a high crime rate. The president of South Africa said, Trump, let's get past all this bullshit you're talking about. He didn't use those words. He said, let's talk about the fact that we have a high crime rate. So we need to use Elon Musk's Starlink because we need video surveillance so that we can see the crime that we have, so we can create more public safety and we can dissipate the crime that's in our country. Who owns Starlink? Elon Musk. Who's from South Africa? Elon Musk. Who is actually running the country? And Donald Trump is just a spokesperson. Elon Musk. This is all tied to that. Second thing is, what they're trying to do is, because I've been to South Africa, in order to own a business as a white person in South Africa, an actual native African Black person has to own 51% of that business or you can't own it. They're doing that so that they can even out from what the apartheid did, which was take away the equity and equality of Black people having any ownership or having any type of wealth in that country. They don't like that. Elon Musk is saying that that is reverse racism on white people. So all of this is just a money move to say, okay, we're going to put this South African president in the White House. I'm going to bully him. And then I'm going to have him tell me pretty much, listen, we need this Starlink system so we can have surveillance of what our country's doing. Let me go a little further. Guess what surveillance gives him to, y'all? Toure, Demetri,
Authoritarianism. Authoritarianism.
Come on, Toure. What does surveillance give them? It gives them insight, direct insight on what's going on. They can watch every fucking thing from anywhere they are. Wait a minute. Elon Musk has access to what? All of the American Social Security and all of our contacts? Yeah. Come on, Toure. Let's stop playing. This is about them taking over a nation, a country. This is a world order. We're not about to play with these people. Trump don't care about any of that stuff he talked about people dying or white genocides. He wants to show that the crime rate is crazy. And one last thing in our land, when you can show the world that the crime rate being high is affecting white people, guess what? Things get done. That's why he had to make this seem like it's a white genocide. No, it's not. It's been a Black genocide since the apartheid. Don't play with us.
You know, Demetri, part of what Trump is talking about here is that we need immigrants who can easily assimilate into this country. And the 59 white South Africans who they just led in this country, they're the children of Afrikaners who used to run that country in a very brutal and messed up way. They will have an easy time assimilating, which this is such an incredibly racist notion of like, let's let in the white people, but we can't let in the brown people because they can't assimilate. It doesn't even relate at all to American history or culture. Go ahead.
You know, the thing about it is, I think that's the thing about racism. It never has to relate. It never has to connect to anything. How the fuck are you talking about somebody who stole some land on stolen land yourself? How the fuck are we talking about any of that going on without acknowledging the building you're fucking sitting in? South Africa ain't been on Trump mind since ever. You understand what I'm saying? It's never been a conversation until it was beneficiary, until the businessman in him kicked in so he can see a pivot for the United States. And my thing about it is this, and I'm going to say it, I'm going to be honest, this is truly how I feel. I don't give a fuck about the 40. I don't give a fuck about the 60, however many people it was. I don't give a fuck till they give a fuck about our people and what the fuck is happening to us. You understand what I'm saying? All that other shit, man, he can save it.
Let's get into this another day because this is a big, huge topic. Immigration is really complex, and this particular part of it is really important. This story brings in Trump's inability to discern fact from fiction, how he keeps saying, taking a myth that somebody tells him and believing it's fact and then acting on it, as well as white victimhood, as well as white privilege. So it connects like all these major themes that we keep seeing over and over with Trump. Let's get into the main topic, because sometimes the anger that we feel toward them, toward our political situation, may be misunderstood, maybe misconstrued. Draymond Green was talking about this the other day. Let's roll that clip.
Angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family. And I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous.
So let's talk about the angry black man, woman, archetype, stereotype thing. Draymond, the point in here is not Draymond, who may be a little angry and a little
Draymond is freaking angry. He's all those amazing things. He is angry. They have him on the court for a reason. He puts pressure on people, man. Draymond's part of the game.
But let's not focus on Draymond. The point is the anger that a lot of us feel at the way that they look at us, and the desire to be violent in response to what we are not getting politically, the justice, the equality. There is a lot of black anger, and you do say, should we be more Malcolm than Martin, more aggressive, more Black Panther than Snick? Should we, we can march. Look at them rioting. I don't know what they got out of that, but a lot of them went to jail. But like, our political ideals might sometimes need a little more force behind them. We have the president of the NAACP in California here. Are you committed as a black person, Dr. B, to the continuing Dr. King peaceful, civil disobedience, nonviolence, or at some point do we need to add some of what Malcolm X and the Black Panthers were talking about?
Well, listen, MLK was a member of our NAACP, and as president, I'm gonna roll with my member, right? But I am that president of NAACP where I'm a little Malcolm. I'm a lot more Malcolm, I should say, and a little less MLK. And we have a lot of those leaders within our organization where, they are protesting, they are giving those speeches, and they are showing that our Black voice matters. And that is needed on the streets. But we also need people who are like Malcolm, who are going to say this is where it stops, who are going to stand vertical in who they are, who are going to do an eye for an eye, right? Who's going to not just turn the other cheek, but going to say, we're going to face this head on, and whatever's necessary for us to do it is what we have to do. I don't think there's one leadership that's needed. I think it's a collective. I think screaming and having a voice and protest and getting their attention is a great way. And I think saying, listen, we got to step on your fucking toes, and that's what we have to do, then by all means necessary, from my brother Malcolm, like he said, by all means necessary, then so be it. But both leaderships are necessary. I would never negate one.
Sarah, go.
Oh my gosh. It's crazy when we were looking at that first picture that was put up and it was, current times versus Civil War times. And I'm literally thinking, if you were to title this rebellion versus insurrection, which would you think was which? Because the truth is, every time that we start to speak up for ourselves, when we do choose to get angry, when we do have a passionate feeling because our people are being disrespected, we're not being loved, we're trying to enforce the fact that we matter, they call us rebellious. They say that we have a civil disobedience, right? And so that's the issue. I think that we as a Black people, though, get to do a much better job of stop being so emotional and reactionary, because emotions are temporary. So if I am outraged and I am angry, yes, that is fuel and that's great. But if you guys have noticed, statistically speaking, and throughout the past, we always run out of steam. We run out of steam because we're not focused on an actual action plan. We're not disciplined to carry something out. We don't come together as a people to make things better. What we do is we're angry. We say that we're angry. We're loud. We're passionate. And then what do? They give us a little bit of media, and then that pacifies us. They give us a little bit of media, and then we forget that we were angry. And we have to do a much better job of committing to the differences that need to happen. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be angry. I'm just saying be angry with a plan. What is the actual plan of action?
So, Dr. B.
Just really quick, I want to say on January 6th, what Sarah's referring to, there were a group of people that attacked the Capitol.
Yeah.
Those group of people are what those group of people refer to us as, I refer to them as, that's what I call niggas. Those were niggas attacking a Capitol right here in this video. On the left, you got niggas attacking the Capitol. On the right, you have leaders of all races, of all creeds, of all ages who are marching and protesting for issues, legislation, concerns, and change and justice. Two totally different people. And so when they say niggas, I look at them niggas who are attacking the Capitol, who should have been criminalized for these acts, who our current president has what? Pardoned many of those niggas. So that's how I look at it. I don't look at niggas being a race. I look at it as folks who are doing ignorant acts, crimes, such as the ones we just seen in that photo.
I love that picture because it speaks to my pragmatism that I am with you, Dr. B, as far as the Malcolm vibe. And at some point, we do need to show, like, we're very upset. We're upset enough to riot. Like, those sorts of things do move the political system over time. But we cannot have a violent uprising against this country. Like, we need to have peace. Even the picture on the right here, these people are engaging, as far as I can tell, in property damage, right? They are not attacking individuals, right? I believe they're attacking a statue, right? Because you see a Civil War statue, right? So when we're doing that sort of thing, we are showing the capitalist structure how angry we are. When we attack individuals, now the structure will come back and crush us. We cannot survive in that way. So even though we feel the anger, and you think about somebody like Rodney Hinton Jr., right, in Ohio, his son is murdered by a police officer. And then he goes the next day and purposefully kills
the officer. Yes.
Now, I'm not saying I would have done it, but I understand, right? And can we make success? Can we have political success doing that at scale? Absolutely not. And I am not telling other people to go do that. But I feel it. And I know that there are other people who feel the same way. Demetri, I know that there's a lot of Black men who feel like doing what Rodney Hinton Jr. did.
Yeah.
It's so much for me to unpack right here. So forgive me if I have to take my time, because this is something, the Draymond Green thing, I'm with him. As a Black man, I feel like we should be angry. We should be very angry. But the thing about it is they label us this. We were trained to be passive, right? Not because it's morally correct, but because it's manageable. That's the fucking problem. That's what I see. And the thing about it is, we talked, you brought up, Toure, you brought up Martin and Malcolm.
Yep.
What people often misunderstand about Martin and Malcolm, Malcolm was strategic, not violent. Martin was radical, not weak. And I think people often misunderstand what the fuck that means, because they saying it's either we be violent or no, we can take the strategic radical approach. Let's do it. But the thing about it is, when we march, when black people march, right, we get fucking arrested with mugshots. But when they storm the fucking Capitol, they get selfies in the fucking public building. Like, I don't understand it. It's completely unjust. I will never fucking understand it. But the thing about it is, I think being labeled is angry. We should be angry. It's a fucking human emotion, and we've earned that right to be angry. It's all about how you display it to the world.
I mean, you know, what you're talking about is absolutely right. James Baldwin's talking about, if you're black and you're not angry, what is the problem? Because you should be upset about the state of black people and black justice in this country. We are not getting our fair share. Slavery still affects us. There's massive policing problems. There's massive wealth inequality. We should be angry. And that doesn't mean we should leave this country. I want this country to be better for us. Don't tell me if you don't like it, then leave. No, I want America to be the greatest country of the world and to work for us and not just for them, right? Dr. B, go.
You know, I love what Demetri said. He said that labeling black men as angry is a form of suppression. That's what I heard him say, right?
Yes.
It's a form of suppression. And it is also a form of what we've been talking about here on True Talk, silencing the black voice. And let me go further. It's silencing the black male voice, which is the head, not the neck of our community, of our race. And if they can silence y'all, then guess what? They feel they can silence us. And when they don't silence the black women, what does that do? It makes us pass y'all up, proceed y'all in every way that we have, because they are choosing to use you guys' natural way of feeling as a way to weaponize it against you, so that when you are having emotions, they want you to do the opposite of angry and go to the place that's super, super vulnerable and soft. And what that has done is, and I'm probably going to have a huge unapologetic opinion about this, and I don't care. What it has done is it has softened a lot of our black men. It has made our black men feel like they can't stand vertical in who they are. It has made our black men feel like they can't have a voice in their house, a voice in their relationship, a voice as parents. And let me go further. They don't even talk about y'all asses at the presidential debate. They don't care about your diabetes. They don't care about your prostate cancer. They don't care about the black on black crime. They talk about the black woman dying 3 times more when giving birth than a white woman. They never mention the black man. And let me say one more thing. When Kamala was running for office, our sister Kamala, she didn't mention y'all Negroes either as much. This is where I have a problem when it comes to politics, Tori. You can look how you want to look, because the black man is the last man who is mentioned. Y'all have the right to feel the way you feel, express how you express, run your household, be parents, be fathers, and stand up. You are not the statistic that they are telling you that you are. You are better than that. And we as black women and black men and our allies have to represent in that space. Until then, we will be silenced.
No, that was 100% with all that. I just want to give respect to my friend Kamala, who I love and respect.
Respect her as a black woman, but we're going to call things wrong when it's wrong. In our black community, we have to have think tanks where we say, listen, Dr. Sarah, I love you, sis, but you was out of pocket here. And Dr. Sarah could say, Doc, listen, love you, sis, but this is what's needed for us to do better collectively. We got to have that emotional intelligence. We can't be an oversensitive freaking community. We can be emotional, but we can't be oversensitive.
100%. Let's listen to Draymond Green again.
Angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man.
He is a very...
And I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous.
You know, you do have to worry constantly, Sarah, as a black man or woman in society, in mixed society, right? It doesn't come up when we're just with us, but like when we're interacting with them, the least little tone, the least little face, the least little aggressiveness, and you're that, right? And sometimes you're not even, they don't even say it. You just think it, you know that they might think that. So you're dealing with a stereotype threat as far as not trying to, it's a very complicated thing that's going on inside us.
Yes. Can I ask you? Oh, Sarah,
let me just say one thing that I feel like one of the reasons why we're looked at as angry is because they have suppressed us not to be. So now when we start feeling our real feelings, it's like, oh, whoa, this isn't supposed to happen. But when I have conversations with my 85-year-old great aunt Marge, and she's telling me about in the past how she used to say her mother said, don't start no trouble. If they look at you a certain way, if they spit on you, if you go, don't drink from that fountain, don't start no trouble. We don't want no trouble over here. And it wasn't until the late Congressman John Lewis was able to say, we need more good trouble in our life. We need to be those voices. We need to get out there. We need to have these conversations. We need to come together, because to be honest, if you look at who has control, the only reason why who's in control is because what did they do? They raped, they pillaged, and they killed. The only way that they were able to literally colonize this entire nation, they took the people that are from Native Americans, they are native to this land, and made them strangers to their own land, and then took it, pushed them into areas that they don't belong in, stole people from other countries, brought them here, and taught them, we're going to rape, pillage, and steal. It's just like the elephant that's connected to the chair. If you put a baby elephant and you harness it to a chair, a small little peg in the ground, it's unable to pull the peg out of the ground. Well, as it gets older, it doesn't even try. Why? Because it is a mind control. Why? Because we are so clear that we are supposed to be nice and dismissive and understanding. And the moment that we come with passion, they're not used to that because they've taught us not to have it.
The passion that you're coming with and Dr. B's coming with, I love, and it reminds me of Romany Malik in 40-Year-Old Virgin. Roll that.
That I can't do. Now don't be a Negro, be my nigga. All right, help me out.
Hold on. I ain't nobody's nigga.
Well, I mean, you somebody's nigga wearing this nigga top.
Now you're being condescending. You have been warned, all right? Let's move forward amicably.
Okay, well, so check this out. First of all, you're throwing too many big words at me. Okay, now, because I don't understand them, I'm going to take them as disrespect. Watch your mouth and help me with the sale.
Okay, see, now you found yourself a nigga. You were looking for a nigga? Nigga here now.
So the whole thing is like that we are like Romney and Kevin Hart is America. Like, help me out. Don't be a nigga, be a nigger. He's like, nigga here now. We are like, nigga here now. Like, we're mad. Like, do we take this feeling that we have to a civil war, Demetri? Like, is that the vibe? Like, people keep talking about that. Like, is that what we need to do?
Absolutely, in my opinion, absolutely. Absolutely, fight for it. You know, the thing about it is Black passion. I'm gonna say passion because you've been seeing a lot of it on the screen. Black passion is viewed as fucking criminal in this country. We need to relabel things because why white rage can be viewed as fucking patriotic? Like, it does not make sense. So the thing about it is, for me, I think the idea of it is a fight at this point. It's something we have to break down and fight for because we're being labeled with things that don't apply to us. It's just who we are. So absolutely, I want to fight.
Dr. B, you want to fight?
This is my thing. Jay-Z said it best. I have 6 degrees. I went from the hood to the hills. I beat the statistics. I'm not a baby mama. I'm a product of teenage pregnancy. My father was a street dude who sold, move weight. He was one of the biggest ones and a gangster that turned his life over. My mom was a 16-year-old pregnant girl. And guess what, Toure? Guess what, Sarah? Guess what, Demetri? Jay-Z said it best. Still nigga to some people. Still nigga. Let me go further. Still nigga to some of my Black people too. So what am I saying is it's not about us focusing on whether we want to fight or not physically. We need to focus on what is the fight that we are fighting for. First of all, what's the loaf? Let's breadcrumb what the hell that strategic fight looks like. One thing Republicans do, which predominantly are white people, as we know, they strategize years ahead. They know who they want to run for office in 4 years, in 10 years, and 30 years. We as Black people, whether we dim or liberals, because I don't care, need to have think tanks where we are strategically figuring out what is the fight. Why are we protesting if we don't know the fight? Why are we even having an emotion and feeling so strong if we don't know what that emotion needs to result in? What do we want that to be? What is our feast so we know what to cook?
Demetri, I think that she makes an excellent point that I'm not sure what issue is so passionate and central to a wide swath of Black people, multiple classes, Atlanta, New York, LA, Oakland, that would everybody's going to work, like when it was the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, the issues were clearer to us. So it was easier to get a large group of Black people to say, I will sacrifice my body, potentially my health and safety to march here, to the issues now are much more complicated. I don't know that you could get a group of people to coalesce to where they're risking their bodies for. I just think the issues are heavier now, are broader now, and the needs that we have as a community are much broader now. Go ahead.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with you, and I absolutely understand all that. But the problem is this: we've never lacked warriors. We lack a war room. That's the fucking problem. We don't have anywhere to strategically get this fight together. There's not spaces where we're large enough where people are gathered. Look how strategic they've been with us. At one point, they adopted, major corporations adopted the Black Lives Matter movement. Within a year, it was completely wiped. They like you said, Dr. Bryant, breadcrumbed. They painted the streets. They fucking did all these things just to silence us long enough so we forget that any of this fucking occurred. We need to sit down, create strategy on how the fuck we can fight back, and then go out there and fight it. Because fighting doesn't have to be violent. Toure, I'm not an angry Black man. Don't label me now. I'm not an angry Black man.
You should be.
I'm just a Black man with some anger. That's all I am.
You should be. You shouldn't be an ABM, but you should be angry because of what's going. I feel like that you kind of made reference to Black Lives Matter there, and I want to bring out a point, and I wonder if Dr. Bryant, as an NAACP person, agrees with this. Black Lives Matter had a tremendous impact on America. Before Trayvon Martin, before Black Lives Matter really got going, Ferguson, we saw in this country police killings as separate things that happened that didn't have any relationship to each other. And there was not any legislative or political feeling of like we could do something because something happened in Buffalo, something happened in Oakland. They are completely separate. And Black Lives Matter, through nonviolent education of the masses, through Twitter, through other media, made people see these are all interconnected stories. This is one singular thing that is happening. And we can have things like body cameras and consent decrees and other ways of reshaping policing, not changing what Black people do, but changing what the police do to have better outcomes. It's not perfect, but we made the media and the country understand this is one story. So they had a massive impact. They can't save every Black person who's on the wrong end of a police gun, but we did have a massive impact, a massive change on America from Black Lives Matter. Dr. B.
I want to say this really quick, because Demetri, you said, as you continued, some really good points, Toure, you just did too as well. When you talk about the angry Black man, another thing when it comes to protesting, or Toure, to your point, when it comes to organizing, right, for these issues, why is it that we are only organizing when there's a George Floyd moment or when there's a death? Why are we not organizing being preventative? Why are we always being interventive? That's not how it works. Second thing is, when we are out there protesting, when we are out there doing this fight, violently or not, there's a huge, gigantic percentile of us, especially our Black men, who will be prosecuted. Guess what prosecution does? It puts something on their record that then makes it hard for them to get a job. Then what does that do? That messes them up socioeconomically to where they cannot take care of their family. So now they not only become to the outside world, but to the woman, a nothing ass man who can't provide because he ended up being prosecuted for fighting for something he wanted. NAACP made a pact with the LA Police Department that said, while we're protesting back in George Floyd, because I put together the very first march where the police law enforcement marched and protested against their own people when George Floyd fought. I had every political elected official out here. I had the chief of police marching in the front lines with us for the first time in history. But we made sure we made a pact. We told them this: you cannot arrest not one person. You cannot arrest not one person, especially not a Black person, because that is systemic racism. The second thing that happens is what happens we end up being folks who are out here trying to figure out, okay, when we're organizing, Black Lives Matter, NAACP, 2 separate civil rights organizations, but they shouldn't be separate by cause. They shouldn't be separate by fight. They can be separate by title. They can be separate by name. I want to give Black Lives Matter their props for a second. NAACP, we sit with the police, we sit with the police staff, we sit with law enforcement, we chastise them, we have conversations, we create policy, we create legislation. Let me tell you something Black Lives Matter won't do. They're not sitting with law enforcement. They ain't sitting with no police or chief. They said this, we want no parts of them. What am I saying? Both leaderships are necessary. Black Lives Matter is making a large splash when they were on the streets, and NAACP is systemically, internally creating legislation, and we are creating policies that can work for us. So all I'm getting to is that, yes, Toure, yes, Demetri, yes, Sarah, we have to organize, we have to be preventative, but we also have to make sure we are having conversations with these lawmakers so our brothers, our sisters don't end up in a worse position fighting for a good fight and having to then do a whole 360 in reverse Uno and fight for their life and fight for the socioeconomic status because they can't go nowhere after they fought a good fucking fight. It's unfair.
Demetri, if we're going to do a civil war, what do you want it to look like?
I want it to be, the thing about it is I can't even put peaceful in the conversation. I want it to be strategic. I want it to be organized. I want it to be led by the exact same fucking people they attempt to tokenize in their own fucking companies and organizations to push Black culture forward. I want it to be led in the social media space we share now. I wanted to start from conversations we have here on Truth Talks. For me personally, because I was out there marching when the marches was happening. I'm not just somebody who step back and talk about it. To me personally, I think it's done best when it's strategic, organized, and thought out. And that's exactly why we need a war room to do so. Before we ever deploy for a war, we sit and we say how we're going to do it. That's exactly what needs to happen.
Sarah.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm so happy, Demetri, that you clarified the aspect of being strategic and that it doesn't necessarily mean a fight. Because on January 6th, they were shooting those men with rubber bullets. We don't get shot with rubber bullets. We get shot with lead bullets. And if we are out here going out trying to make all of these changes, it's really easy if we're all in one place to take us all down one at a time. And so for me, civil war, strategic civil war means getting our economy together. It means coming together as one, identifying, like Dr. B said, you've got to identify what is the next step, like where are we even at and where is it that we want to go so we can reverse engineer that thing. We need to have our voices heard, like Truth Talks. We need this platform. We need to be able to amplify the voices of the different Black experience so we can actually all see we're not that much different. Even if we came from completely different circumstances, at the end of the day, most of us are still treated the same when we get pulled over by the police. And we have to know that it's not until we are able to come together. That's how the best way to win is to create economy. We need to be a richer race.
Well, that's 100% correct. And that is the point, that we can succeed through economics. Right. And that may be Cudi Jakalia, something more unified, like collective economics. But if we need to have more money coming into the community and using that money to improve the community. I have a dream of Black billionaires, some of them, we don't have that many, but a few of them getting together.
We have a lot of them, Toure. We have a lot of them.
Let's peel off a couple of dollars so that we can have a bank that focuses on mortgages for Black people. Because if we have more Black people getting more mortgages that are good for them, then we'll have more home ownership, and we will bring more wealth into the community long term, so we can have that money for the next generation, not just our generation. That sort of economic rise is what we need. The fight is never. I mean, look, I was out on George Floyd just like everybody, right? And I love those days and those civil disobedience, marching the streets, shutting down highways, shutting down bridges. Like, these things are really valuable and really important and part of the struggle. But we're really not going to win unless we have a lot of money that we can deploy just to make us a stronger community, right? Yeah. I think the money is the thing that's going to make the protest really, really work. Yeah. Dr. B, what do you think?
And I want to say, you know, we need to be able to feel our emotion of anger and not be suppressed. When you have these white folks go shoot up a school, is that anger or is that mental health? Okay, I'm back. But when you have a Black man who just is expressing himself at a very loud, passionate tone, but ain't shot nobody, ain't hit nobody, ain't did none of it, just externalizing how he feels, is that anger or is that mental health? Or is that him externalizing his trauma that he has every fucking right to do? What I'm saying is that cultural competence is needed in this world, in this leadership, in law enforcement. Trauma looks different on us than it does white people, than it does brown people, than it does Asian people. And until they understand that, they will always fear. Go ahead, Toure, go ahead.
How does it look different on us, trauma, than others?
Let an officer pull behind a Black man, and you'll see how his trauma inflames, and it looks different than a white man being pulled over by an officer. That's where it looks different. When a Black man gets out and he throws his hands up and says, yo, man, what did I do? You know, what did I do? That's his fear. That's his trauma. That's him confused. He's trying to figure out why me again. Versus a white man that gets out and says, hey, sir, so what was I pull over for? The same message. It looks different. You're talking about a Black man. If he's growing up in the inner city or in the hood, he's growing up with helicopters above his head. He's growing up with a little boy he's raising by himself. He's growing up with a single mama in the household. He's growing up trying to figure out how he can just get from fucking home to school and back alive without being robbed, without being killed. So you're dealing with a different person who has a different environment, who has different needs. And if you don't take the time to be cultural competent, you don't need to be in a leadership position. You damn sure need to be in a law enforcement position, and you are not a person who needs to be dealing with people outside of your race. It looks different on us, and we have a right for it to look different, and we have an even more right to be understood. And if you don't understand us, to stay the fuck away from jobs that serve us.
Sarah.
Ooh, that's so good. And on a complete side note, I also feel like people in authority need to have a mental illness check before they're even able to do that job, because a lot of them are so mentally ill. They're taking their trauma from back in the day when they were any girls, or they were the shorter guy, or weren't as good at sports, and they're projecting that pain. Now they're adults. They're projecting that onto us in their adult life. So that's number one. Number two, I feel like we need to take accountability for what's happening inside of our lives. What does that mean? It means you can't take away from me what I've built. If we get focused on creating economy for ourselves by joining together, by having actual business plans, by pooling our money together, by creating an opportunity for us to grow together instead of that crabs in a barrel mentality, everything will change, because we are some of the most powerful, resilient people that exist on this planet. And as long as we can work together and identify the issue and work against that, take that anger and funnel it into strategy, funnel it into intention, funnel it into action that needs to happen day by day by day. And one day we'll look up and life will look completely different.
Demetri.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it any better myself. The trauma shows up in a number of ways they'll never understand because they've never experienced it. You don't understand what it's like Dr. Bryant said, for police to pull behind me. You don't understand what it's like to be in the richer part of the city and eyes and people looking at you and XYZ. You don't understand what it's like to be a Black man. And I got a concern whether my application is being viewed at the same level this motherfucker next to me is. Those are things you never understand. That's trauma we have. And what people don't understand is trauma shapes your confidence. Trauma shapes how you present yourself to the world. Trauma shapes all of you. And then we show up in these spaces and we don't have what it takes. Why? Because our trauma never let us get there, never let us develop fully. So this motherfucker get the job when I was way more qualified. To me, I think the thing about it is we've taken on this notion of suppressing this trauma. And now you see this uprise and you want to call us angry because of it. Yeah, God damn it, I'm angry. I should be fucking angry. That's what my trauma made me. Your trauma made you peaceful. Why? Because all you've ever seen was fucking the easy road. Fuck that, man.
Doc.
You know, there is an amendment I was trying to look up, but I can't find it. I did a really amazing event with Ben Crump, the biggest civil rights attorney in the world. Yeah. And there's an amendment. I'm so sorry I don't have it because I love to educate. But this amendment talks about, because Sarah made such a good point, that law enforcement by law by law, cannot have a mental health illness diagnosis and be an active officer. Okay. Now, they have that, but guess what? It's not mandatory that they see a mental health professional quarterly or yearly. So who is checking the balance? Where's the democracy to make sure that our officers that are serving us are not impaired? Who's doing that check and balance? Because what it says is if an officer is impaired, then guess what? He has to step down until he either gets the treatment he needs or he cannot operate in that capacity anymore. So I'm not going to name drop because I won't do that to my friends, but I have friends who work as Port Police, friends who work as LA PD officers. My brother's a 14-year officer as well, who have been diagnosed with depression, with anxiety, with PTSD. Not my brother, but many of them. And guess what? They still suit up every day. They still put a badge on every day. So what am I saying? Go ahead, Toure. What am I saying? Go deeper.
Let's go a little bit deeper. The FBI has made it clear that a lot of white supremacist organizations told their people, go into law enforcement. So the next time you get pulled over, that officer in blue might be in the Klan. He might be in the Proud Boys. They were very purposeful and intentional, saying we need to maintain our power. And the way we do that is sending brothers into law enforcement. Like that, and we don't even know, like you're talking about with the mental health, we don't know. We don't even know because we can't quantify who's in the Klan. You don't put that on your resume, right?
That's why we don't know, Toure, because it's not in the bylaws. It's in the amendments, the Constitution. But if it's not in the law enforcement bylaws, then guess what? They don't have to follow them. So we as NAACP are fighting to change up and take out some of those bylaws and put in bylaws that work for people that look like us. Because if the bylaws don't say you have to be mentally impaired, then guess what? Y'all got me pissed off.
She'll keep going anyway.
Fuck this shit.
Love the passion.
The fire is here.
Are you an angry black woman?
It's all about.
You know, hold on. Let me say this. Demetri asked a good question. He said, "Am I an angry black woman?" Let me say this, Demetri. I am let me say this, Demetri. I am and can become an extremely angry, passionate black woman for my black men, for my father, for my brothers, for my kids, for my community. You damn right. And that's why they got the right one in the position as NAACP president, because I be in those chief of staff meetings, seriously, and I be cutting their asses up. And if they watching, they're vouch for it. I be in there looking like the angry, strong black woman, and I don't care about them pressing me because I'm a press and stand on it, double down every single time. So for a person like you, Demetri, for my sister Sarah, for my brother Toure, you damn right I'm angry. And if it takes angry to move this machine, then baby, let's get this ship revved up. I'm okay with, and I don't care about titles. I don't care about titles, Toure. I care about change. I care about actions. Care about call of action. And I care about people who look like me so that the people who don't look like us can have a different experience of us. And guess what? They can also have a better world, because as we do better, we impact every single body who's connected to us.
Demetri, you know, I really started thinking about where we are as far as Civil War when I interviewed Malcolm X. And you know what he told me? Wow. You know what Malcolm X told me?
What did he tell you?
Demetri, he died 10 years before I was born. What are you talking about? Are you I was like,
great. All right. You look old enough. Listen, I at least thought you were 70.
Forever.
Literally.
Mike. This is Truth Talks. I love you guys. That was an amazing, passionate show. Everybody brought their heart, their mind. That was amazing. Thank you so much for coming with the energy. Thank you so much for being here with us. It's Dr. B, it's Sarah, it's Demetri, and we're gonna bring in a lot of amazing guests to come into this mix with us this year. Maybe Mark Lamont Hill, maybe DL Hughley, Ebony K. Williams, perhaps. You never know who from our Rolodex is gonna show up on any given night. So please come hang with us every night at 8 o'clock. Roland Martin, Unfiltered, Black Star Network. Like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube at Truth Talks-Live. You can always watch us on YouTube /Truth Talks Live. Support Black media via the links on your screen. See you tomorrow.
Wait, and lastly, leave in the comments how old you think our brother Toure is. We want to know in the comments, how old is this Negro? How old?
Get out of here.
Bye, y'all.